Hello and welcome to this edition of Back in History. In this edition, we tell the story of ISAAC ADAKA BORO, a young ambitious man from the creeks of the Niger Delta region of Nigeria who braved the odds to openly declare the creation of the Independent Republic of the Niger Delta. It was the first time in the history of Nigeria for such an audacious step to be taken by anyone. Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu was the second person in the history of Nigeria to have taken a similar step by his declaration of the independent state of Biafra. In this video, we make a complete story of the man ISAAC ADAKA BORO. We welcome you once again to this edition of Back in History. He was known in full as ISAAC Jasper ADAKA BORO. He was born on 10 September 1938. He wrote a book, and the book was titled The 12-Day Revolution. In that book, Boro recounted moving frequently with his family whenever his father was transferred to head a new school. His father was a teacher who later gained promotion to the post of headmaster. ISAAC ADAKA BORO wrote as follows in the book, quote, "I am reliably informed that I was born at the 0 hour of midnight on 10th September 1938 in the oil town of Aloibiri along the humid creeks of the Niger Delta. My father was the headmaster of the only mission school there. Before I was old enough to know my surroundings, I was already in a city called Port Harcourt, where my father was again the headmaster of another mission school. This was in the early 40s. The next environment where I found myself was in my hometown Kayama. My father had been sent there to head a school yet again." End of quote. As noted earlier, his father was a headmaster who had been posted to several schools in the present-day Rivers State and Bayelsa States. His father was a disciplinarian who inculcated a number of virtues in the young ISAAC. ISAAC learned to read and write from home and did so well in his primary and secondary classes. Being the son of a teacher, ISAAC had access to books at home and in the school libraries. It has been reported that his father had the practice of going with his entire family wherever he was transferred to, and for this reason, ISAAC was enrolled in a number of schools. ISAAC's father was a native of Aloibiri in present-day Bayelsa State, and ISAAC was from Aloibiri by birth and parentage. Aloibiri is credited as being the first place in Nigeria where crude oil was discovered in commercial quantity. His father was of the Ijaw heritage, so also was ISAAC. His father's name was Pepo ADAKA BORO. ISAAC ADAKA BORO was an intelligent child. At his first secondary school leaving certificate examination, he earned a distinction. From primary school, he moved to Huzi College in Warri, where he also did well in his academics and graduated with flying colors. Done with his secondary education, he took employment as a teacher, and later on he joined the Nigeria Police Force. While in the police force, he earned a scholarship from the government of the eastern region of Nigeria to study chemistry at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. While in Nsukka, he took active part in students' politics, and later he contested and won election for the office of president of the Students' Union government. ISAAC soon became a well-known figure in the university. ISAAC also became an activist on campus, advocating vociferously for the rights of fellow students. ISAAC ADAKA BORO closely followed Nigeria's political story and the prevailing crisis of nationhood at the time, drawing inspiration from revolutionary leaders like Fidel Castro of Cuba. Upon leaving University of Nigeria Nsukka in 1965, he moved to Lagos, where he co-founded a political movement called WXYZ with Samuel Owonaru and Nottingham Dick. The group advocated for greater control of the Niger Delta's oil wealth by the Ijaw people. ISAAC BORO decried what he described as the marginalization of the oil-bearing communities of the Niger Delta region. He lamented the poverty that pervaded the region, the same region that produced the oil that sustained Nigeria. At this time, Nigeria was drilling oil in commercial quantity in the Niger Delta for export and was earning billions of petrodollars per annum. ISAAC Boro then began to conceive a plan to separate his people of the Niger Delta region from Nigeria. He established the Niger Delta Volunteer Force, the NDFV, composed of young men from various Ijaw clans who were trained in a militia camp behind ISAAC Boro's father's compound in Kayama. Boro emphasized that his mission is to highlight the oppression and neglect faced daily by the Niger Delta people and the need for resource control. Boro considered it unacceptable for his people to live in poverty and penury while their land flowed with oil. He then mapped out his modalities, and on February 23, 1966, at the age of 27, ISAAC ADAKA BORO openly declared the secession of the Niger Delta from Nigeria and named the new country the Niger Delta Republic. In his speech at the historic declaration ceremony, the young and ambitious ISAAC Boro stated as follows, quote, "Today is a great day, not only in your lives, but also in the history of the Niger Delta. Perhaps it will be the most fantastic day in a very long time. This is not because we are going to bring the heavens down, but because we are going to demonstrate to the world what and how we feel about oppression. Remember your 70-year-old grandmother who still farms before she eats. Also remember your poverty-stricken people. Remember too your petroleum, which is being pumped out daily from your veins, and then fight for your freedom." End of quote. His declaration was a significant moment in Nigeria's history and in the history of the people of the Niger Delta. It marked the first serious challenge to Nigeria's unity since independence from Britain in 1960. Boro argued that the Niger Delta, a region so critical to Nigeria's economic wealth, had suffered from prolonged neglect and underdevelopment, and that the people of the region had no reason to live in poverty in the midst of plenty. Boro was ready to die for his belief in the emancipation of the region. He was firm and resolute and was not ready to back down. For him, his people deserved a republic of their own. He promised that the new republic under his leadership will be run on the basis of equality, equity, and fair distribution of the wealth of the region. He did the declaration in broad daylight in the company of his associates, some of whom were Sam Owunaru, Nottingham Dick, and George Amangala. Nigeria was not happy with him. This was expected. His action was seen as treason, and for this reason, the government of Nigeria went after him and his allies. A manhunt was declared, and the mission was to capture ISAAC Boro and his men and bring the secessionist state of the Niger Delta Republic to an end. At this time, Nigeria was governed at the center by General Aguiyi Ironsi following the first military coup that took place in Nigeria and removed the first civilian administration from power. So it was Ironsi as head of state of Nigeria that ordered for the crushing of the new republic of the Niger Delta and the arrest of ISAAC Boro and his men. Soldiers went in as commanded, but they met serious resistance from ISAAC Boro and his men. History has it that Boro's army was made up of a little above 150 armed men. Nigerian soldiers were unable to capture Boro despite spirited efforts. Boro and his men held on to the battle for 12 days until they were overpowered by the Nigerian troops. Boro was captured alive along with some of his men. The government at the center in Lagos worked in conjunction with the then governor of the Eastern Region, Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, to crush ISAAC Boro's rebellion. Interestingly, Ojukwu also declared his own republic, the independent state of Biafra, barely 1 year after Boro's declaration. Following his capture, trial and conviction for treason, Boro was sent to prison. Throughout his trial, Boro remained unapologetic. He famously stated thus, "There is nothing wrong with Nigeria, but the lack of mercy in her activities is our problem with Nigeria, for which reason we have chosen to go our separate way." End of quote. Boro remained in prison at the mercy of the head of state of Nigeria, General Agui Ironsi. Ironsi came to power following the first military coup, which took place in January 1966. While in prison, Nigeria experienced a second military coup. In the said coup, the head of state of Nigeria, General Agui Ironsi, was killed by the coup plotters, and Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon was chosen as the new head of state of Nigeria. It was Gowon that later released Boro from prison. Prior to Boro's release from prison, the relationship between Gowon as the head of state of Nigeria and Ojukwu as governor of the eastern region had gone really bad, and it was almost certain that Ojukwu was going to declare Biafra as a breakaway state from Nigeria. For this reason, and in preparation for a counterforce against Ojukwu's highly anticipated Biafra, Gowon thought it wise to release the likes of ISAAC Boro from prison and utilize his knowledge of the complex terrain of the creeks and high waters of the Niger Delta region and his ability to mobilize local support. These factors proved crucial in countering the Biafran movement, which had included parts of the Niger Delta within its territory. Boro was not comfortable being in Ojukwu's Biafra, and for this, he was ready to join forces instead with Nigeria to fight against Biafra. In May 1967, ISAAC Boro was granted amnesty by the Gowon administration and commissioned directly as major in the Nigerian army. He joined Colonel Benjamin Adekunle's 3rd Marine Commando Division, commanding a unit of around 1,000 men from Rivers State. Despite limited training, their understanding of the region's terrain and local languages was instrumental during the war. The newly commissioned Major ISAAC Adaka Boro and his unit known as the Sea School Boys became integral to the success of the 3rd Marine Commando Division. Their familiarity with the riverine areas, ability to adapt to changing conditions, contributed immensely to victories in a number of areas. In his book, My Command, at page 70, Olusegun Obasanjo, former military head of state of Nigeria and former civilian president who also fought at the war, stated thus about Boro and his group, quote, "ISAAC Boro and his men of the Sea School Boys had become a significant factor in the operations of the 3rd Marine Commando. Their knowledge of the riverine areas, their understanding of the local languages, their ability to live off the land, and their swift movements accounted for the huge success in areas around Opobo, Andoni, Obodo, Opolum, Oranga, and Bogama." End of quote. Unfortunately, not long into the war, Major ISAAC Adaka Boro died under controversial circumstances in 1968 near Okrika in present-day Rivers State in the course of the war at the age of 29. Obasanjo's account of ISAAC Boro's death in the same book at page 70 states as follows, quote, "It was here in Okrika that Major ISAAC Adaka Boro was killed, apparently by a fleeing rebel soldier whom he encountered during a private visit. His death led almost immediately to the dissolution of 19th Brigade, which became uncontrollable without him." End of quote. Boro was indeed a rallying force and a commander in his own right. He had the ability to get people into action and to go for what they believed in. Several persons looked up to him, and in his absence, such persons became discouraged. The corpse of Isaac Adaka Boro was taken to Lagos, where he was buried at the Ikoyi Cemetery with full military honors as a hero who died fighting for the Nigerian cause. His mortal remains lay in Lagos from 1968 to 2013, a period of 45 years, when the remains were exhumed and taken to the Ijaw Heroes Park in Yenagoa, the capital of Bayelsa State. This would have been with the permission of the appropriate authorities of the Nigerian Army and the Nigerian government. Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan was Nigeria's president at the time. Seriake Dickson was the governor of Bayelsa and was instrumental to the request for the exhumation of the remains of Boro for reburial in the land of his ancestors. The coffin bearing Isaac Boro's remains was driven from the Lagos Cemetery to the Murtala Muhammed International Airport in Lagos and flown from there to the Port Harcourt International Airport, Omagua, and from Omagua he was driven by road to Kayama in a motorcade by members of the Ijaw Youth Council, IYC. The motorcade safely arrived at the Ijaw Heroes Park in Yenagoa, capital of Bayelsa State, for the reburial. Present at the reburial ceremony were the then governor of Bayelsa State, Seriake Dickson, former governor of the state, Diepere Alamesia, Ijaw all-time leader Pa Edwin Clark, General Alani Akinrinade, who represented former head of state of Nigeria, General Yakubu Gowon, Ijaw activist Miss Ankyo Briggs, and a host of other people who gathered to pay their last respect to a man seen by many as the first to raise awareness to issues surrounding oil and gas exploration in the Niger Delta region. It was a day that the remains of Isaac Adaka Boro was returned home to the land of his ancestors. At the event, Pa Edwin Clark described Major Isaac Adaka Boro as a nationalist who sacrificed his life for Nigeria's peace and unity. He regretted that the evil that Boro fought against still persists in Nigeria. The Ijaw leader said when the country was amalgamated in 1914, he never hoped that any region would claim superiority over others. He prayed for the repose of the soul of Major Isaac Adaka Boro. On her part, Ankyo Briggs stated that Boro's reburial would raise the bar in the Niger Delta struggle for fiscal federalism, resource control, and injustice. Isaac Adaka Boro's 12-day revolution marked the first armed rebellion against the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He is often recognized as a significant figure who influenced both violent and non-violent activists from the Niger Delta, including Ken Saro-Wiwa and later activists like Asari Dokubo, Tompolo, Ebika Bowei, otherwise known as Boy Love, Victor Ben, and a host of other activists. His revolution also gave rise to the evolution of intellectual writings on environmental issues in the Niger Delta. In all, Boro's action brought awareness to the challenging conditions of the Niger Delta region. Although Boro's revolution did not succeed, it played a crucial role in highlighting the need for resource control and drawing attention to the issues in the Niger Delta region. His legacy continues to influence efforts aimed at addressing the region's concerns. At the 2017 Boro Day celebration held in Yenagoa, capital of Bayelsa State, the then governor of the state, Seriake Dickson, stated thus while addressing the mammoth crowd that gathered at the Hero Square, quote, "I welcome you all once again to your state for our annual activities remembering the sacrifices and contributions of our hero who, though physically dead and gone, remains alive and ever present in our hearts and minds. I want to thank all of you for coming and especially his family for their fortitude in all that they have gone through and in bearing the banner of sacrifice for the collective good. I want to thank the youths of this state, youths of Ijaw Nation, for keeping the Boro dream alive. We thank all of you for working with the government year after year to honor and recognize Boro and the sacrifices and contributions of all those who fought by his side. We honor him as a symbol of our struggle, of the time when our oppressed people said no, because no was the right answer at the time. He was of course not alone. A number of young men believed in him, believed in our cause, and answered the call of duty. We remember Captain Owonaro, who is still alive. His son is representing him here. We want to say thank you to him for being a living symbol of our struggles. We remember the contributions of Nottingham Dick. We remember the contributions and sacrifices of Captain Nyanayo. We remember all of those who fought and died. For those of you who have not taken time to study the history of our struggle, find time to read every material you can lay your hands on. Find time also to talk to those who were part of it. Then you will know the hard decisions that these leaders and heroes as young men at that time had to make. Take your minds back to the late 1950s and early 1960s in Nigeria. All of them were university undergraduates and then graduates. One of them had a master's degree in chemistry at the time. They abandoned the cozy comfort they had earned. He went on to say, still in quote, "If you want to know, a number of them still lie in unmarked graves." These were young men who taught us the meaning of sacrifice. Isaac Boro, Nottingham Dick, Owonaro, Nyanayo all believed in and fought for the welfare and well-being of their people, not minding their own individual comforts. They stood trial, were convicted, sentenced to death, and later granted pardon. Today, as we remember our heroes, I want to underline the fact that as a people, we need to have a clear sense of direction, a clear sense of strategy. Now you have to focus on the intellectual side of the struggle and arm yourself intellectually with the right skills for tomorrow. As it was in Boro's time, so it has been till now. We must continue with the Boro dream. We cannot get to our destination unless we raise leaders for the battles of tomorrow. The same old battles, but the strategy and weapons have changed. Boro came with his colleagues, they did their bit, and they are gone. End of quote. The 17th of May has been slated by the government and people of Bayelsa State for the celebration of Isaac Boro and his compatriots. At the 2025 Boro Day celebration, Governor Diri, as serving governor of Bayelsa State, admonished the youths of the Niger Delta region to celebrate Isaac Boro with honor and integrity. He emphasized that Boro sacrificed his life fighting the injustice. The memory of Isaac Jasper Adaka Boro shall remain green in the minds of several persons and in the history books of the Niger Delta region, Nigeria, and Africa for many years to come. Thanks for watching this edition of Back in History, and do remember to subscribe to the channel or follow the page for regular notification on every new video. Thanks also for continually returning to this channel and for sharing my videos with your friends and loved ones, even as I promise to continue this mission for the documentation of the rich history of Nigeria and Africa. I am your friend and host, Ekemini Udim, wishing you the best of time in all you do.